My name is Bailey Foster, and to go through the started with DIMA webinar. Before I launch into that, I'm just going to explain a couple basic things about DIMA. So it stands for the Database for Inventory Monitoring and Assessment. Is used by several monitoring programs, including the Bureau of Land Management's AIM program, Assessment Inventory Monitoring. And today I'm going to be focusing on that program and how to set up DIMA for AIM data collection. DIMA is a Microsoft Access-based program. Familiar with Access is in the Microsoft suite like Word and Excel and PowerPoint. Similar to those kinds of documents, can only be open in one place at one time. So it's not like using the cloud, anything on the cloud like Google or ArcGIS Online. So make sure that you are either merging your data or the most up-to-date version. Thing is that since it is Microsoft Access, it only runs on Windows operating systems, not Android and not Apple OS, only Windows. And there are several field tablets available that run Windows operating systems. That I will get started with DIMA. Our objectives will be to understand the general hierarchy of DIMA. We'll to cover where and how to report errors. Then I'll launch into kind of a live demo and show you how to enter data into DIMA. I'll show you how to perform quick error checks, as well as setting up form defaults and ancillary information in DIMA. Advantages of using DIMA, as well as any other electronic data entry device. First of all, it's fast. So if you were to use paper forms, which have their own right, they take because it requires that all data be entered into an electronic device before submitted to our main database, Teradata. So if you have it on paper, you then have to enter it into DIMA. So if you're just entering it immediately into DIMA, then yay, only one time. The second thing about that is it catches errors as you are collecting data. So unlike paper, if there's an error though, you won't know it, and you go back through and double check your information, and you might still miss something. So database is created to catch all of the errors, as well as potential incorrect plant codes. That being said, there are some things that you'll still need to manually check out on your own, but we have lots of checks in place to help you out. The final thing is ensuring adhesion to protocols. So, DIMA is sure that you are using the same defaults for every indicator and method. So this is a herbaceous litter will always be considered a stone, a cobble is a cobble. So you'll know getting and sticking with your protocol. Same with different gap sizes. It'll tell you if your gap is too small. So it's really kind of just a backup buddy to help you as you're collecting data. I've used several places. The field is the most obvious one. It helps with QA and QC. You can also run quick reports in the field. So you know, say your report says you have 90% bare ground. If you look at this photo, you can tell right off the bat there's not 90% bare ground. So something went wrong in your data entry procedure. You can double check that before you ever leave the site. So used in the office. And this is probably when you're setting up DIMA, entering in all plants for your plant list. and entering in people, ancillary information like weather, precipitation, previous disturbances. This can happen, some of this happens before, some of this happens after data collection. And this you'll also be able to run large data summaries. So these generate Microsoft Excel documents and show you your level of analysis than those on-the-fly reports in the field. QC, you can run through and double-check all data, and there's features available to you. And there's a new ARC tools as well, which we won't get into that one today. All right, so where do we find DIMA? It's on this rather long HTTP. Don't worry, you can just Google Hornada DIMA, and it will be the first hit in Google. And then I'll show you how to manually get to this website through landscapetoolbox.org, which is my favorite way to access it because I'm constantly going to Landscape Toolbox. And this is the download page will look like for you. And the most recent version of DIMA should be at the very top and will tell you when it was released. And then if you need older versions of DIMA, those are available down below. So launching the hierarchy of DIMA. The image here shows two as well as 3 plots and then the lines within those plots. So what I mean by that, a site is a larger combination of several plots. So those typically represent things like strata, for example, pine juniper or grassland. They can also represent things like allotments or however you want to generally clump your data or stratify it is what a site is. And then below that is a plot. So those are the specific places that we are collecting data throughout those sites. Each plot, there are typically 3 transects, which is shown here. And we collect the data on those 3 transects to get an overall idea of what is on that plot. So others for DIMA are the DIMA website, which we mentioned before, and Landscape Toolbox. So the first one is that I mentioned also is landscapetoolbox.org. You can monitoring manual here, which is nice to have a PDF version. There's several tutorials for DIMA there, which I'll show you in a second. Landscapetoolbox.org. And this is the one that's specific name. So while Landscape Toolbox has kind of the general overview of using DIMA, the AIM website has everything specific to AIM. And if something is confusing to you, there are real people you can talk to. The person you should contact is Lauren Price. She is a member of the AIM team at the BLM's National Operations Center. She is the monitoring coordinator and the first line of defense for DIMA. So hit her up with any questions you should have. If we're able to answer your questions, she will reach out to Sarah McCord and Sarah Burnett. Sarah Burnett is the data steward for AIM, and then Sarah McCord is an ecologist and overall AIM expert. And so you may find them copied on some of your emails. So to hit up Lauren, what should you provide her? I want to tell her which version of DIMA you are using. So for example, right now we have DIMA 5.3b. You'll explain what you did prior to the error. Were you going to run a report and you hit escape and now everything is not working? And possible, please send a screenshot of the error. Super helpful. You can type up the error message if you're not able to. And additionally, we're always open for suggestions and feedback as we try and develop our database sources. That kind of concludes the overview of DIMA, and we're about to launch into the live demonstration. Now we'll be talking about applying aim settings to the method forms, adding people and plants, setting up sites and plots. I'll show you the data entry steps for several methods: line point intercept, gap intercept, soil stability, and species inventory. Cool. Okay, so bear with me. I'm going to pop toolbox.org. So here's what this page looks like. To access, how I like to access DIMA is under Tools and Databases, to DIMA, and that page that we recognize. Come on over to download. And if you are curious, there's several other resources like a forum, an overview of DIMA, which is right here, FAQ, so feel free to peruse there. I'll download. And there it goes. So DIMA database version 5.3b, yes. Note that it's compatible with both 32 and 64-bit access. And I'll explain to you what that means in just a sec. All right. We've downloaded it a couple times. So note that when DIMA downloads, it is a zip file. And you can click on this zipped file and it looks normal, but it will not work. Make sure that you click there and go to extract all and save this to a place know where to find it in the future. So I have it in my documents. In a second. Great. And where are you? Here we go. Okay. I'll close real quick. Okay, it looks like when DIMA has been extracted, there's a folder of counties, different templates, the measurements, and then those of you working on sage-grouse, we do have sage-grouse plant species here, and then this release notes is everything new that has happened with DIMA. It is. Okay. All right, so now I will go ahead and open up my DIMA. And I opened this one up before and updating just in case it didn't run away for me. But when you DIMA, you'll have a box that pops up asking you to create the administrator password. It suggests 999, that's 4 nines. Stick that so that we know how to fix you in the future. Make sure you don't change your password, please. We also pop up asking you which version you want to use, 32-bit or 64-bit. If you don't use, Google it. And we are looking at the version of Microsoft you're running. And if you Google it, Google which MM32 or 64-bit Microsoft, there's clear steps on how to figure that out. Okay, set up. This is mostly what your screen will look like. I do have a site in here already. So the first thing, the other thing I want to tell you, go to click on these boxes and nothing happens. That means that you are disabled. And to enable them, you can go to File and Option, and macros, enable all macros, and then OK. And OK. And let's close and open current database for the specified option to take effect. And that just means close DIMA and open it. Cool. All right. So now we will talk about set up some of that ancillary information. Here on the left side, and this is typically where you find things that you do in the office. On the side is more what you do in the field. So support tables, and this will show you a lot of that ancillary information. Here we'll upload our states and counties, our people, if you have site ownership codes, all of your plant species lists, and range health information. And I won't get into range health today. Do feel free to reach out to Lauren if you have questions there. And then here at the bottom is more information for ecological site descriptions, and we won't be going into that today. So I'll just go ahead and start with states and counties since it's here first. Right now it's all blank. You enter that manually, but why would you do that when you can import counties? The folder you already have for DIMA. So it'll automatically send you to your DIMA folder. Click on, I'm in Colorado right now, so that's what I'm going to do. DIMA automatically bring in all of these for your state. That's pretty helpful, and you don't have to figure out that. And you do it with your soils nation. Cool. Next one, people. So easy. So in order to add people, so this is anyone involved with the data collection process for this project. Go ahead and I'll put in mine. But the name is bold, and the rest of these are not bold. So DIMA has this reoccurring thing in all of its forms. Anything that's bold is required. Things that are not bold, not required. Helpful to a little extra information. I reckon at the very least an email address. This is so if people are looking through the data and there's something really funky going on, they can contact the person who's involved with that data. Sometimes those are crew members who don't stay in the area long. So it is nice to be able to reach out to them and see if they know what was up. The next is assign roles. So I will record data, I will observe data. I'm the crew leader in data entry and data error checking. And the person who is my project lead, and he helped me record and observe data. In case he's the land manager, since he does work for the BLM here. He's the project designer, so he actually decided how we were going to do our monitoring. He's not the field crew leader because I am. And he'll do data entry and data error checking. So he works via, we'll say, does. Cool. So they kind of get the picture. And then there's always this not specified option. If you have someone else and you don't get for some reason, that's always an option. I will dig into the ship codes. This just shows you BLM is Bureau of Land Management, BIA is Bureau of Indian Affairs, etc. But I will show you next is the master species list. So this version I have already imported a species list, but typically typically this is going to be blank your first time. There are a few to import plants into your DIMA. Mass import of species data. And here you can do different ways to do so. The default is mass import of NRCS plant species list. It goes to plants.usd.gov. And this is the default list that we use are the USD plants names. Show you how to get to this. There's this helpful hyperlink already here that says go to this site. And we'll open up plants database for you with the clip. You then select which state you are in. Oh, select Colorado. And cool. Every single plant is there from Colorado. And in order to import that into DIMA, you select all, which is Control A, and then copy them, Control C, and then you open up a text document, like, for example, I have a notebook, and then go ahead and paste those as, and I'll call plants. Yep. We had one, so I'm just going to replace that. And then you can go back to your DIMA, and then we'll browse for that document you just saved. I think I left in my maybe. Okay. Oh, here it is. Great. So now it's here. To click on this import synonyms box, and it has these helpful things that explain what some of the thing parts are. It just explains that there are several different names for certain plants in plants database, and those are retired versions of a certain plant, and it just includes those synonyms. That you can click validate plant list and import info in this database. And it'll take a couple minutes. It does pop up a couple of errors for the 3 plant codes, like ZEA, Z-E-A. Hit OK, that's fine. DIMA is just programmed to recognize at least 4 letters for a plant code, but it will import this. So that because I already have my plant list. Another important to know is you can do a mass import of plant species in an Excel file. This will cover a lot of folks because we have been on for a while. You can find a lot of state species plant lists that have already been generated for AIM. These are really awesome. They're a little more specific to your area. They have additional information already filled in. Start with your BLM project lead, and it'll reach out to your BLM AIM state lead or state monitoring coordinator. If those don't exist and you do have extensive plant information already, you can create your own. Note that there is a specific template required here. You can wear the directions are on landscapetoolbox.org. I won't go much deeper into that right now, though. And the final way to import species is this grouse species group. And tutorials for this as well, again, not for the duration today. Great. So I've got my list of plants. There's a couple more things here we should note. That's one in the middle, maintain species attributes is very important. Click on that, and we get a similar version of our plant list pop up. And I want you now is something that is required before you submit your data to the National Operations Center, and that is to populate growth habit, duration, and invasiveness. You do need that information for every plant that you encounter. And I know that sounds a little tedious, which is why it's nice to get plant lists that have already been populated with this information. So you had to go ahead and do that. So I'll just start with Aves lasiocarpa, a rare office that has subalpine fur. Its category is woody. That's the tree. And okay. And then you get it selected. There we go. And yes, one species will be updated. Hope that it does fix asiocarpa after you click OK. So make sure you click on it again. Then you can insert the duration, and it's a perennial plant, selected, yes. Stabilizing, it's a tree, yes. And invasive. This tree is not invasive. No. Okay. So straightforward there. You can go to different plants in this fund. So grass also, which is BRTE is the code. Bromus tectorum. The granite is woody, and category is graminoid, which is a grass. My duration here is stabilizing. Since it is manual, please reach out to a local botanist or ecologist, and they'll be able to help you out if you have questions for any of these plants. And the reason you do have to do this manually is because the categories do change from different parts of the country. So in some places, Phlox hoodii is considered woody, and some places it is considered herbaceous. In some places, people might consider as invasive, and some places it is not considered invasive. So we really need to talk to local people and make sure that you understand this. Don't follow Weed the Best as a guide, because the definite weed there is very broad. So, for example, brush is in there, and for the DLM, we don't consider that a weed. Just to speed this up a little bit, you can select multiple plants at once, hitting Control, or even Control Shift, and you can change those at the same time. Cool. So we're done. The next thing I want to show you contains species groups. That's not what I wanted to show you, just kidding. Unity species lists. So here, say you have a bunch of plants that you already know to exist in a certain species group, like salt dove shrub. I know I have a lot of Atriplex. So ATA, I think is Atriplex gardneri, but I don't totally remember if there's a number after it. You can click drop down, and nope, no number for this one. Click add. Add multiple at one time. You can hit this blue box, search species, add multiple, and a big long plant list again. You can navigate around here by letter, navigate sorting by code, or by specific, or common, or synonym of. And this is a direct search. So scientific, I'm going to search because I have a few more in my area. And in that box, it populates here on the top right. So Some people get confused and don't realize that and click it 12 times and notice that it pops up times. Not a huge deal, but just know it is working. Great. Those are the only two I'm going to add for right now. Make sure that add again. Okay. And this my desert shrub plant. And close. And something about DIMA is you don't really have to hit save ever. You can just close out and it should save for you. Okay. The next thing to show is the species group habit. Is just to clarify for you what is a forb herb, what is a graminoid, and those are non. With the one or the one that's of most confusing for people is the succulent, and we do consider that woody. And then finally is the generic species description. So as you collect data, you will come across a lot of plants that you don't know, and that's fun. We do unknown plant codes, and those generic, like AF01, stand for annual forb, and it would first one you hit. And these like that, AF02, 03, etc. EF is perennial forb. AG is annual grass or graminoid. PG, perennial graminoid. TRG, SG, succulent, etc. So when you hit one, don't say hit an unknown annual forb. I don't know what it is. I'll say what date I found it on, the part it with. If you have any idea, I'll say it's in astragalus, because they're often really difficult to identify. The species, I don't know right now. I did take some photos. 103. Have I identified it? Some attributes, number of petals, color, etc. And there are attributes too if you do hit a graph, so like who's present, ligules, etc. And those are down below. And you have the helpful unknown plant track list with you throughout the season in one. So it's helpful to lose all that information in somebody's notebook or something if they should use. So, and that's all for the support tables. So next, I'm not going to talk about site plot description. That's just a little extra metadata. And here are the reports for those bigger Excel version reports. If you have questions, there are tutorials for that as well. The interview photos, we typically don't store our photos in DIMA, but you can. It just creates a mega file and often is very difficult to transfer. The other documents as well. But what I'm going to talk about next is the administrative functions. All right, and the system setup. So with the database content, modify functions in this copy. Your password, it should be 9999. Cool. All right, here's where you get to decide how many forms you want to have in your database. So I'm going to go through and just make it so that only the AIM defaults are checked. And those are gap intercept, line intercept, stability, and species richness. Great. And I'll just select these qualitative for well. If you have supplement data that you're collecting and these forms work for you, by all means use them. We have to set up our default with this data form default button. You select metric or English. We use metric. Our length is typically 25 meters. If it's line length, that's fine. Check in with your project lead so you know what your line length should be. Space interval, point intercept, will be every 50 centimeters, starting at we set up our height default as well, and we collect it every 5th point. And go ahead and check this BLM aim height and uncheck height of each layer. All right, so the last thing here is we are going to want to show the checkbox. That label, the checkbox will represent thing dead. If you hit a rooted plant that is dead, we want to know. Collecting shrub shape, you can click that here as well. Click on intercept. And note line length stays the same. Your minimum gap size for AIM is 20 centimeters. And we are only going to collect canopy gap as a requirement. You could potentially collect basal gap as well, but it is not required for AIM. A gap for us are perennial grasses and annual forbs. That one's pretty easy. Oops. And next is soil stability, still 25 meters. We're also collecting on the surface. Again, you may collect subsurface as well. Will tell us how frequently you are dropping your samples into the water. And either be 15 seconds or 30 seconds, it really doesn't matter. Just select it so that we know. And throughout the season. So you start with 30 seconds as you're learning, but after a month into it, you feel confident to speed it up a bit to 15. That's great. And finally, richness. Here, our plot sizes are metric, and what we use is AIM. And I'll go ahead and close. And things in the system setup. You can import from a prior version of the DIMA. On a multi-year long project, you can get information there. Application constants. So what that is, this is something that carries across every. So our default for AIM, our GPS coordinate system is decimal degrees, and we use v3. So those are really the only two things you need to use here. LPI special lower surface codes. And I do recommend going in here and know which codes are acceptable in AIM, and you can find that in the monitoring manual, which lower codes and surface codes are acceptable. So we herbaceous litter and woody litter. We don't use animal matter, dung, embedded to human trash. That falls into NL, which is other litter. And we don't stack, but we do use vagrant lichen. Codes, there's a lot of them. Bedrock, boulder rubble, dust, embedded litter, gravel, rock front, soil. Are using stone, gravel, boulder, then you won't need this rock code. And then we don't worry about that one. I mean, it's just to make your list of potential things to affect as soon as possible, because when you have third plans on your list already, it gets long. These two things I won't talk about, the stage grouse, and then you can set up a GPS to your DIMA, but we don't get it here. Down below in the data management dropdown, great things for after you've collected data. There are tutorials on Landscape Toolbox for this. You can do mass deletes if you items go wrong there, but hopefully you don't have to use that. Data import export from other databases, associating a plot with a different site, so you accidentally put a plot in the wrong site. Merge plots. If you have two databases running at the same time on two tablets. You have a species code within a plot, which would be if you get a plant and need to change it, or changing your unknown codes into what you've actually edited as. And then also other mass updates. So again, tutorials for that. Great, I'll close out of here. And all I need to do on this left-hand side, so I am ready to collect some data. This is my first site, and I create it by clicking site. Remember, bold are required and bold not required. So here I like to use however my project was stratified. So the strata that I have is Pinyon Juniper. And I just like to associate it with the field office I'm in. You can select OLM. Your contact name will be your project lead, typically, Joe Schmo. You can put additional metadata like your objectives, your management and monitoring objectives. There, what is the goal of this project? Can be helpful for folks later on. All right, I'm going to prove here. And the plot, I am using 3 transects per plot. My plot one's very important what you name it, and this should be identical to the shapefile and plot tracking Excel that you receive. So do change plot ID names. And that my plot name is J034 is the first I have in the Pinyon Juniper strata. You know when your plot is established, so if you set things up in advance, but change that to the actual day that you establish your plot. Page is also where you can add a lot of extra information about where's your state and county. You'll be adding all of this. We also want that to put your Google Maps set or any helpful things, like if you had to cross the river. Down there, preset and ecological sites, map unit symbol, soil series, component, parental material are all done after the fact, after you already characterized your soils and talked to your local staff to get your average precip. Percent, aspect, slope, shape are all done in the field. A lot of people collect these data on paper and enter them in. That's fine. What it looks like, 12%, 130 degrees. Then your landscape unit, the hill mountain, and you'd have to say what part of the hill you're on shoulder. And the management unit is allotment versus pasture. Okay. So you can also add tags. Your gas lines, decimal degrees, and nat 83, they're already in there for you, so that's awesome. And you write what your plot, latitude, and longitude are actually. So you do receive something in your plot tracking Excel and shapefile for what the lat long is that you navigate to. But, go ahead and write what your GPS says once you arrive on the plot. Can either be used GPS or a digital elevation model. Your project lead's preference. Here are our lines. Or transects 1, 2, 3 are 20 degrees apart. So if you started, it would be 0, 1, 22, 40 north rather than true north. And again, we do like to have your start and end ideally at a minimum of transect and using yes. So say this is a calibration plot. Then you have 4 people calibrating, but you only have 3 transect lines here. You can add another line. So make sure it indicates one more. Okay, and it adds that 4th one. This, you'd want them to all the same. Okay. And also, it's good to name the line for the person who's collecting the data for that. It's very straightforward. And then you go back and change those if it's just a regular plot. So you can click and then hit cut to give a line. I know this is, but I have faith that you can rewatch this video and read directions. Okay, this plot looks like. On this page is soil verification, and this is after you've collected your soil or while you're collecting your soil. Add them. You can set either exact latitude, longitude. That line goes down here within 5 and observers, and 70 centimeters every time. Horizons, you can add a new one. So there's however many horizons you encounter in the soil pit. There's a standard, it's just what you see. And then you arrange it to what is on top, so don't worry if you add the bottom one first. There's a little extra information in here that you don't necessarily have to fill in, so the horizon isn't required. If you know it, awesome. Color is required, so let me use 10YR to you in chroma. And off of moist soil and textured it to be a sandy loam with and clay. And your rock fragments, what is your level, what's cobble? If you don't have any cobbles, that's fine. Say 13 and 2, and then the total there is 15. Okay. Also add effervescence, wasn't. Grade, you don't need. Structure, we do need. Structure on this one's greater. That's what your filled in horizon would look like. And then you add the next one here. And I think you just did it. So let's close out that. I have here is this disturbances or management history. This information is located in 2 places, so I'm not going to fill in this one. I'm going to in here and plot observation history because I find it a little more comprehensive. Select new, create who the observer, entry if you had to put things from paper onto the database, and error checking. Page 2. Here from the disturbance management history. What's our recent weather in the past 12 months? Normal, drought, or wet? Preset. Photos, what are their numbers and what are they? At least one for each transect and one for each soil pit. Any signs of erosion that you saw if you do collect that information. Content, etc. 3 will show us what our management history is, and here's one that you'll want to work with people local, so you don't fill this in the field. If you should fill this in the field, but be broad. You don't name every single bug that you see, unless your project leads want you to, and do that. So add any livestock use you see, species evidence, and ensure that you don't use categorizing information like heavily grazed, because connotation. So evidence is fine. Influences, visible disturbances. Okay, information or just notes. There's lots of spaces for notes, so feel free to use them all. The species list. We'll get into that in another location. So that's here. Out. And, so now my plot is all set up and good to go. All right, I'll show you how to enter data. So here you select that, and if it disappears, just click on your site and it should appear for you. Click on, and then you get to collect, enter, edit data. Woohoo! Start with point intercept. Double right, and it does. All right, LPI form will look like. And notice it's all grayed out. That's because there's some bold boxes that you need to fill in first. Signature you're on. There is lock. Collect your data here. I prefer to use this box right here. Click data entry. And before I go on that, I want to show you one more thing. That there are 1, 2, 3, 4 lower code spaces. If you're in a really densely vegetated area, you might have more hits than that in one single pin drop. So you can add an additional 7 lower slots by clicking this box from here. Okay, so here is what your box or your form looks like without any plants in it. So that list that we created already. Salt and grab. Do that over. Got it over. But it doesn't want to work right now. Let me add them here manually. Can this have a number? Yes, it is vodka too. The protect form is here. Universe DIMA is here. Check that I have the right number because there's still hits out there. So this is right now, and then you can just close that. If now the plants appear for us. Next part is fairly straightforward. Your recorder will tell you what they hit, and the recorder will populate the form. So let's say the hit is Atroplex garden, herb litter, soil. Okay. Next is the same as last, except Atroplex gardeneri is dead. So you can just same as last button on the right, and check the box that it's dead. Go to the next. Last. None actually hit any plants at all, and cobble. Okay, 3.5, remember we're collecting height every 5th hit. These now pop up. You calculated what's herbaceous and woody will help you out so you don't accidentally put an herbaceous plant in a woody box. Let's enter this in centimeters. I don't have any herbaceous heights on this one, so I hit none, and note that 0 is populated already. If I'm a cobble, but just kidding, it should have been birdie, you can do that by using this big gray box. Select it. Right. And as you're keying, it can be helpful to go to this position number. Say I put number 11 in wrong, you can just jump straight there and fix that. You might encounter on the way. Is modify plant list. I'm going to go back here, but I want to show you how to add those generic unknown plant codes. So go to the bottom, add generic codes, add set of codes, and let's see, unknown annual graph. And I said I will need starting at 0, 1. All right, so the list and are there for you to use now. Okay. So, and there are helpful boxes again everywhere that go into some detail and explain a lot of what I just said. You forget. Close out, and it tells me that not all my points have been completed. That's fine. Thank you for catching that. Okay, I'll show you gap intercept. We'll check. Looks good. When again, recorder and observer. Yeah. Option to indicate whether collecting Canopy Gap low to high, which is 0 to 2,500 centimeters, or high to low, 2,500 to 0 centimeters. However, collect your data. So here, you just have a number. So I have a canopy gap from 0 to 21, and another canopy gap from 2, oh, space measurement cannot be less than 2 centimeters. Right, I forgot. So plants have to be at least 2 meters in order to up the gap. Okay. Gap is at 50 centimeters, and it only goes to 50. Oh, minimum. A gap minimum has to be 20 centimeters. Note that it does delete it, so you have to do it yourself. See some of the errors that can pop up, and that DIMA's got your back and helping you out, because 2 o'clock and 100 degrees math is hard. And that's all you need to know for gap. One of those cool, quick on-the-fly forms or comes. So recalc now, and tells you how many, actually information in here you can use. Okay, there you go. If you the sum of how much of that line and the percentage of the line that's in a gap. So you can do a gut check. Does this make sense? Okay. Now you doing all looks good. Okay. So soil stability is taken on the whole plot, either in the lines below. And your first 6 are going to be on line 1, second 6, line 2, and third 6, line 3. Put in here a location on the line that you collect your sample. Let's say it's meters. Vegetation cover, is it no cover, grass, root, perenniform, shrub, tree. And you can also select what rating. So is it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? And these checkboxes are to indicate if there's hydrophobic soils. Hydrophobic soils are rare, so you probably won't encounter them, but you may. And negations here. So it'll tell you what average soil PED per line. That are your covers. Okay, that one, this form does mirror the paper form most directly of any of the forms. You see the looks good. Okay, so you have to select the line here, but you do it for the whole plot. So hit line 1. Is anything you encountered on line point intercept, you can automatically populate over. Saved you a little bit of time. And so you all hit AGO2 if it lets you know that. If you encounter more plants, you can always add those in the edit species step. And note that it doesn't automatically come over here, which is your real species inventory list. So you can manually add over there by clicking on it. Those highlights here are for you. Is just your species count. About, excuse me. So that is mostly I have to show you for the live demonstration. There is one more cool thing on this homepage. Let me get on there. Okay, there's a data entry method. Keyboard mouse versus touch screen. And I've been using keyboard mouse because I'm on a computer, so it's easier. But in the field on a tablet, you'll probably want to use touch screen. So I'll just show you the one change screen is in Gap. And when you go to numbers, a handy little box pops up, so you can just click on it without having to type it in. Okay. That's all for you for the live demonstration. There are 2 more things I want to show you. On the Toolbox website is if you go to training and go down to tutorials for using DIMA, you'll show that you just watched here. There's also a tutorial and slides from the webinar that you can download. So I recommend, if you're confused setting up your database, to just go ahead and download those. Tutorials for entering field data, quality control, run reports, troubleshooting, importing data from other databases, creating files, merging databases, loading Excel spreadsheets, unknown plant tracking, plot observation. They have everything. So this is a really helpful website to go to. The other thing toolbox.landscapetoolbox.org. And the tutorials here, you can do data collection, crew hiring, and equipment. Keyword. And scroll to equipment. Terrestrial. So click drop down. Here you can find what is the most up-to-date version of DIMA, how do you get to it, DIMA tutorials and setup. So a lot of form defaults we just covered. This will take you back to Landscape Toolbox. There's vertical and rangelands, which is cool. There's sage grouse habitat form tutorial and enabling macros if you forget. And that's all I have for you today. So thank you guys for attending this webinar. And I hope that DIMA won't give any headaches this season. Happy field season.